television broadcasting.
The following Statement of Principles of Radio and Television Broadcasting is being adopted by the Board of Directors of National Association of Broadcasters on behalf of the Association of Commercial Radio and Television Stations it represents.
America's free over-the-air radio and television broadcasters have a long and proud tradition of universal and local broadcast service to the American people. These broadcasters, large and small, representing diverse localities and perspectives,
Have strived to present programming of highest quality to their local communities pursuant to standard of excellence and responsibility.
They have done so and continue to do so out of respect of their status as daily guests in the homes and lives of a majority of Americans, and with a sense of pride in their profession, in their product, and in their public service. The Board issues this statement of principles to record and reflect what it believes to be the generally accepted standards of America's radio and television broadcasters.
The Board feels that such statement will be particularly useful at this time, given public concern about certain serious societal problems, notably violence and drug abuse.
The Board believes that broadcaster will continue to earn public trust and confidence by following the same principles that have served them for so long.
Many broadcasters now have written standards of their own. All have their own programming policies. NAB would hope that all broadcasters would set down in writing their general programming principles and policies, as the Board hereby sets down the following principles. The challenge to the broadcaster often is to determine how suitably to present the complexities of human behavior without compromising or reducing the range of subject matter, artistic expression or dramatic expression desired by the broadcaster and its audiences. For television and for radio, this requires exceptional awareness of considerations peculiar to each medium, and of the composition and preference of particular communities and audiences.
Each broadcaster should exercise responsible and careful judgment in the selection of material for broadcast. At the same time, each broadcast licensee must be vigilant in exercising and defending its right to program according to its own judgments.
In selecting program subject and themes for particular sensitivity,
Great care should be paid to treatment and presentation,
so as to avoid presentation for the purpose of sensationalism or to appeal prurient interest or morbid curiosity. Responsibility in children's programming. Programs designed primarily for children should take into account the range of interests and needs of children, from informational material to wide variety of entertainment materials. Children's programs should attempt to contribute to the sound, balanced development of children and to help achieve a sense of the world at large. Special program principles. Number 1. Violence, physical or psychological, should only be portrayed in a responsible manner and should not be used exploitatively. Where consistent with the creative intent, programs involving violence should present the consequences of violence to its victims and perpetrators. Presentation of the details of violence should avoid the excessive, gratuitous, and the instructional. The use of violence for its own sake and the detail dwelling upon brutality or physical agony, by sight or by sound, should be avoided. Particular care should be exercised where children are involved in the depiction of violent behavior. Drugs and substance abuse. The use of illegal drugs or other substance abuse should not be encouraged or shown as socially desirable. Portrayal of drug or substance abuse should be reasonably related to plot, theme, or character development. Where consistent with the creative intent, the adverse consequences of drug or substance abuse should be depicted. Glamorization of drug and substance abuse should be avoided. Number 3. Sexually oriented material. In evaluating programming dealing with human sexuality, Broadcasters should consider the composition and expectations of the audience likely to be viewing or listening to their stations and or to a particular program, the context in which sensitive materials is presented, and its schedule. Creativity and diversity in programming that deals with human sexuality should be encouraged. Programming that purely panders to prurient or morbid interests should be avoided. Where significant childhood audience can be expected, particular care should be exercised when addressing sexual themes. Obscenity is not constitutionally protected speech and is at all times not unacceptable for broadcast. All programming decisions should take into account current federal requirements limiting the broadcast of indecent matter.
This statement of principle is of necessity general and advisory rather than specific and restrictive. There will be no interpretations and enforcement of these principles by NAB and others. They are not intended to establish new criteria of programming decisions but rather to reflect generally accepted practices of America's radio and television programmers. They similarly not in a way intended to inhibit creativity in our programming of controversial, diverse, and sensitive subjects. Specific standards and their application and interpretations remain within the sole discretion of individual television or radio licensee. Both NAB and the station it represents respect and defend individual broadcast First Amendment rights to select and present programming according to its individual assessment of the desires and expectation of its audience and of public interest. Standards and principles. Be consistent with the broad foreign policy objectives of the United States. Be consistent with the international telecommunications policies and treaty obligation of the United States. Not duplicate the activities of United States broadcasters. Not duplicate the activities of government-supported broadcasting entities of other democratic nations. Be conducted in accordance of the highest professional standards of broadcasting journalism. Be based on reliable information about its potential audience. Be designed so as to effectively reach significant audience. Promote respect of human rights, including freedom of religion. The broadcasting principles described as the news which is consistently reliable, authoritative, accurate, comprehensive. A balanced and comprehensive projection of United States thoughts and institutions reflecting the diversity of United States culture and society. A clear and effective presentation of policies, including editorials broadcast by Voice of America, presenting the views of United States government. A variety of opinion and voices within the particular region and nations. Prevented by censorship or repression from speaking to their fellow countrymen. Capability to provide a surge capacity to support United States foreign policy objectives during crisis abroad. Programming to meet needs which remain unserved by the totality of media voices available to the people of certain nations. Information about developments in each significant region of the world. Adequate transmitter and relay capacity to support the activities described in this section. Training and technical support for independent indigenous media through government agencies of private United States entities. The long-range interests of the United States are served by communicating directly with the peoples of the world by radio. To be effective, the Voice of America must win the attention and respect of listeners. These principles will therefore govern Voice of America or VOA broadcasts. VOA or Voice of America will serve as a consistently reliable and authoritative source of news. VOA news will be accurate, objective, and comprehensive. VOA will represent America, not any single segment of American society, and will therefore present a balanced and comprehensive projection of significant American thought and institutions. VOA will present
the policies of the United States clearly and effectively, and will also present responsible discussions and opinion of these policies.
Mayor Rose Binarao reporting.